Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. After 2 days of straight rain here in Cleveland, the Tigers and the Indians are tired of waiting and waiting and waiting. But the good news is the raindrops that have been falling here the last couple of days, well, they cleared out. It's a beautiful day for baseball as we welcome into Progressive Field Game 1 in this doubleheader featuring the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Indians. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Bemba alongside Rod Allen. Glad to have you with us here for Game 1 of 2 here today. Rod, it's been a frustrating couple of nights in the ballpark for both of these teams. You get geared up to play baseball, and then you just kind of sit around all day.
A lot of waiting around, a lot of eating, a lot of card playing, a lot of whatever guys were doing. But I know guys are very, very happy that they can get out there today and play some baseball, even though they've got to stay out here a long time today and play 2.
All right, now one guy that's really happy is Justin Verlander. He'll take the mound here in Game 1 for the Tigers. He wants to pitch because, really, he's on a pretty good stretch right now.
Well, Verlander is pitching like he pitched back in 2011, 2012 when he was simply the best pitcher on the entire planet. His earned run average is very, very low. As a matter of fact, 1.27, third in MLB since August 5th. Getting it done with a mixture of fastballs, 94 to 97, moving the fastball around a little bit better these days. Verlander also has the really good curveball. He also has the outstanding changeup. But really, what has elevated him lately is the fact that he's gone to a slider. He's more comfortable throwing that slider, and he's throwing that slider right now more than he's ever thrown it.
All right, if he's going to throw that slider or that fastball or that curveball or change today, he's going to have to find out a way to get Michael Brantley out because this guy's been hitting everything the Tigers have been throwing up there.
Well, I forgot to tell you, don't throw Brantley any of those pitches because he's legit. This guy, for me, he might have the prettiest swing of any left-hander in the game. And I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. Joe Mauer used to have the prettiest swing, but take a look at Brantley here. Take a look at the weight transfer. Take a look at how he's able to rotate on that backside and his hands get through the strike zone. He's got plenty of bat speed. Nice two-way player. Not only a good offensive player, but good defensive player. He's only made 2 errors in like the last 2 years playing a combination of center field and also left field. He can also steal your base. Brantley is an outstanding player, made an all-star team last year, was hurt this year, so he didn't make the all-star team, but he's got a legitimate shot at winning a gold glove this year.
All right, stay with us. We've got 2 broadcasts for you today. The Tigers and Indians coming up. After a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam Studios. Check in with Trevor Thompson. Let's play 2. Game 1 of the doubleheader. Tigers and Tribe coming up next. Comerica Bank. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be when it's time. Come to Comerica. Dodge. Visit Dodge.com or your local dealer today. And by Purina, your pets, our passion. Hey, look at that. There is sunshine here in Cleveland. Believe it or not, it's a great day for baseball here in downtown Cleveland. Progressive Field, the site, 63 degrees. Our game time temperature, and the good news is no rain in the forecast today. So the Tigers getting set for game one in this doubleheader. Their starting lineup features Anthony Gose. It is presented by your Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Gose will lead things off and play in center field. Ian Kinsler at second base. Miguel Cabrera is batting third. A middle three of J.D. Martinez, Victor Martinez, and Nick Castellanos. Steven Moya getting a start in left field today. Then McCann and Dixon Machado. And they are facing the right-handed offerings of Cody Anderson.
And Cody Anderson's been pretty good in his last three starts. As a matter of fact, one of those starts against the Tigers, he had spent some time on the disabled list with an oblique strain, but he's got a fastball that tops out at about 95. Loves his changeup. He's got a cutter that acts like a slider, and he has a curveball that he does not use very often.
So Cody Anderson's had to go to work here this afternoon. The first of two between the Tigers and the Indians. Rained out last night as well. We'll see if that game will be made up at a later date. In the meantime, here is Anthony Gose settling into the batter's box. Gose and then Kinsler and then Cabrera facing the right-hander. Almonte, the center fielder, a little bit tardy in getting out to his position. Now he's ready to go.
Where's he been? He hasn't played in 2 days. He should have been out there ready to go.
He should have been chomping at the bit.
Oh, he went back to get some glasses.
Okay.
Smart move by Mr. Almonte.
So here we go as Gose stands in, and the first pitch of game number one today is fouled straight back 0-1.
Gose has been sizzling hot in the month of September. As a matter of fact, he started off September like he started off the month of April. Gose batting .353 this month.
1 for 3 in the opening game. A 4-game hitting streak for Gose. The 0-1 pitch is lifted in the air toward left center field. Ball hit pretty good, and that ball's going to find the gap. Cut off there by Brantley. Gose is on his way to second. He'll slide in with a leadoff double.
I see you, Anthony.
So that hot September just got a little bit better.
21st double of the season for Anthony Gose. He gets himself a fastball at 92. That's down. That's where left-handers just absolutely love the ball. He slices it the other way, and by the time Brantley, the left fielder, runs it down, Gose coasting into second base.
So an early chance to score a run here in game one as Kinsler stands in.
Well, you might as well manufacture a run. If you're in Kinsler, either get him over or get him in. And if you don't get him in, Miguel Cabrera has a golden opportunity of driving him in.
Infield playing a little bit toward the right side. Big hole to the left side shortstop. There's a line drive to right. That's going to be a base hit. Score the run. Gose rounding third. He will come in. Throw comes back into second base, and two batters into this game, the Tigers have a 1-0 lead.
How about that? 3 pitches in, Tigers 1 run.
Kinsler gets his 68th RBI.
Ian Kinsler was simply trying to move Anthony Gose over to third base. He had a ball up, and you could tell by the swing he was trying to hit the ball to right field. He was successful doing so, and drives in the first run of this contest.
Second hit in the series now for Kinsler. Tigers have the early 1-0 lead. That'll bring up Miguel Cabrera.
Hey, boys come out swinging today, right?
Well, they've been itching to play baseball after sitting around for a couple of days. Now Cabrera sends a ground ball to short. This should be 2, a 6-4, and a 3.
Let's take a look at the Cleveland Indians starting defense. It is brought to you by Tim Hortons. Chisenhall in right field, and man, has he turned into a pretty good right fielder. He really has only been out there about 30 games. Michael Brantley, we talked about him at the top of the show. Just 2 errors in left field. 2 errors, as a matter of fact, in 4 seasons in left field from Brantley. So he's a tremendous offensive and defensive player.
So Brantley, who had a big game in game 1, positioned out there again here this afternoon. Here's a strike called on J.D. Martinez. J.D. was 1 for 4 in the opener on Thursday. Batting .280 now on the season. Anderson's 0-1 pitch. No balls, 2 strikes.
Anderson, one of those right-handers who's not afraid to throw his changeup to right-handed batters. He loves the changeup. It fades down and into the right-handers. And even though you might make a mistake in there, he still likes to throw that pitch.
JD takes a fastball high and away, and the count goes to 1-2 on Martinez. And for JD, it's been a slow September, just 167 this month. Anderson's 1-2. Inside, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And that 92-mile-per-hour fastball there thrown by Anderson had a lot of late life to it. Doesn't throw very hard, but everything moves. Here comes that changeup.
And it's shot back up the middle into center field. It'll be a 2-out single for Martinez. That'll keep the inning going. The Tigers have their 3rd hit already today.
Sometimes as a right-hander, you don't want to throw that changeup inside to the right-handed batter, so they wanted it away. And the ball was away, but JD with 2 strikes did a very nice job of just hitting the ball right back through the middle, not trying to do too much with it.
Here is Victor Martinez. Victor at 236 this year. He's hit 9 home runs.
Last 4 or 5 games that Victor has played in, he has had a little bit more bat speed. He's been barreling up more baseballs, which is a good sign.
Yeah, Brad, a couple of days ago said he was just about ready to rest Victor Martinez. Then he had a couple of games in which he didn't pick up too many hits, but was, as you said, barreling up some baseballs, so he just continued to play him. And getting another chance here today as he looks at a strike on the outer edge. 1-1.
Indians employ the shift, as they always do when Victor's in the batter's box. Their second baseman, Kipnis, he's all the way in the outfield. And their shortstop, Lindor, swung all the way around.
One ball, 1 strike. Lifted down the left field line, slicing away. And Victor, you just wonder, with a guy who's struggling as he is right now, and you see the shift, you wonder if he'll try and go back up the middle or go the other way to try and get a base hit. They give him the entire left side of the infield.
I think what Victor tries to do, if there's runners in scoring position and they play this kind of defense on him, he will try to go the other way early in the count. But if there's not anybody in scoring position, he'll try to pull until he gets 2 strikes. Like now, then he might try to go that way.
Instead, it's pulled foul down the first base line. 1-2 on Victor Martinez.
We are starting to see more and more left-handed batters and even right-handed batters that get shifted on heavily. A lot more guys are trying to go the other way. A lot of guys trying to beat that shift these days. And why not?
A lot of hits out there. 1-2. And a swing and a foul. He just got a piece of it.
That's a cutter at 89 miles an hour. In many ways, Anderson's cutter acts like a slider. Looks like a fastball coming right down the middle. And then all of a sudden, as a hitter, once you start your swing, that ball just kind of cuts in on the inner third of home plate. Victor lucky to get a piece of that one.
Cody Anderson is 24 years old. He'll turn 25 tomorrow. And again, the 1-2. High fly ball, right field. It'll be playable for Chisenhall. And that'll be it for the Tigers. They get a run on the RBI single by Kinsler, and we go to the bottom of the first. The bottom of the first, Justin Verlander today, presented by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Verlander pitches pretty good baseball lately. Checks in overall this season with a 3-7 record, but the earned run average is not bad at 343. Fastball's gotten up to 97 miles an hour. Of course, you know about the curve, the slider, and the changeup, and it's very important for Verlander to go out and pitch well here today.
Here is the lineup he will face today for the Indians, presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. It'll be Kipnis, Lindor, Brantley at the top, and Santana, Chisenhall, Gomes in the middle. Chris Johnson getting the start at first base here in Game 1, was acquired from the Braves. He's anchoring the bottom three of their lineup, and JV set to go to work now against Jason Kipnis. And it's a ball low to Kipnis.
Castellanos is 5 feet in front of the third base bag on the grass. I did not know that they played Kipnis that way. He's not a guy that I've really noticed bunting all that often.
0 for 4 in the series with a base on balls. Kipnis will look at a strike on the outer edge. In fact, I can't remember the last time Kipnis bunted against us. Not all that often, but Castellanos on the grass. Verlander ready with the 1-1 pitch. Lifted in the air toward left field. On the move is Steven Moya. They'll run it down. One gone.
Let's take a look at the Tigers starting defense. It's presented by Beaumont Health. Steven Moya made the transition from right field to left field in Toledo this year. About the last month of the season, getting his first start out there as a big leaguer. Golson center, Martinez in right, Machado, Kinsler up the middle, Castellanos and Cabrera on the corners. And how about James McCann? A major league record to begin a career, no miscues in 103 games. Incredible.
He is behind the dish here in the opener. Here is Francisco Lindor. And JV missing outside. 1-0 to Lindor. Had a walk, scored a run on Thursday in the opener of the series. A very fine rookie season for Francisco, batting .306. Now he tries to chop a bunt down the first base line. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And looked uncomfortable doing so. He's an outstanding bunter. 12 sack bunts already this year for their hot shot rookie, but he looked uncomfortable there trying to bunt for a base hit. Castellanos also crowding him at the third base position.
1-2.
And nice two-way players. Lindor, we've well documented how good this guy is, and he's just gotten to the big leagues. There's the 12 sack bunts. Also 1 bunt hit. Didn't get to the big leagues until June 14th, but he's in the Rookie of the Year conversation, which is awfully rare.
Little chopper hit to the right side. Verlander comes off to make the play. Nicely done before rolled foul, and Lindor is tagged out. 2 up, 2 down. Hey, by the way, stay tuned to Tigers Live following the game. We select the Fox Sports Detroit Tigers Player of the Game, presented by McDonald's Steak and Egg Burritos. Get your steak and eggs this morning?
I didn't get steak and eggs, but I had a nice little omelet.
Nice.
Had a little fruit, you know what I mean, little oatmeal too.
So you're good to go for both games today?
No, just the first one. I'm going to have to retool after this one. Or reboot.
Here's Michael Brantley now with 2 outs. Yeah, I saw that sandwich you were packing back there.
Oh, you got one too now.
I do. I won't lie. There's a strike called on Michael Brantley.
And facing Michael Brantley just the way that you want to with the bases empty, although lately he's been in scoring position, standing in that batter's box, especially right here at home in the last 12 games. He has 5 homers.
Brantley shoots one on a line right to the second baseman Kinsler, and it's a 1-2-3 for JV. Doubleheader today. It's time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag Detroit Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Here we go to the second now. It'll be Nick Castellanos to lead it off. And he drives one back up the middle on one hop. It'll be Kipnis who hadn't played nicely. His throw is off target, but tag made there by Johnson. One pitch, one out. Tigers being awfully aggressive today.
Yes, they are. Swinging a lot of first pitches.
3 pitches into the game, they had a run.
And apparently that's the MO. And the scouting report that they have on Anderson is the fact that he's going to try to attack them with a lot of first pitch fastballs, and they've been ready for him.
So here is Steven Moya, who in the big leagues this year is 0 for 1. This is just his second major league at bat this year. And Moya, who has massive power, hit 20 more home runs down this year at AAA.
He's a big boy, too. 6 feet, 6 inches. Very tall, very strong, outstanding throwing arm, good defensive player as well. Took a step backwards this year, though, offensively. Was player of the year last year in Double-A, but only .240 this season in Toledo.
And I'm wondering how much of that had to do with the plantar fasciitis he had coming out of spring camp, which really kind of set him back. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Bouncing ball back up the middle. Kipnis diving, sprawling play. Has no throw, though, and Moya beats it out. An infield hit.
I told you that Moya stands 6 feet 6 inches, which means he has those long strides. And once Kipnis leaves his feet, he doesn't get up as quickly as you would think, and that allows Moya to get himself an infield single.
So the Tigers have their 4th hit. That'll bring up James McCann. James has been hot, and as a result, the average now has jumped up to .270 coming into play today.
Yeah, he was 2 for 3 in the opener with a couple of runs scored, single, double, and a walk.
And he'll take ball 1 from Anderson. Well, there you go. In the month of September, a very lofty 357 with 7 RBIs.
Yeah, he had slowed down in the month of August. There were many that were starting to believe that maybe he was starting to tire. But he's found another gear here in the month of September.
Swing and a miss.
How about that jacket he wore a couple of Saturdays ago? Did you see that jacket? He was sporting that Razorback jacket.
Razorback jacket, yeah. Huh? Yeah, well,
you gotta be awfully confident to pull that off.
I don't know if he wore it out in public. I think he was just wearing it in the clubhouse.
He may as well have worn it out in public. It's all over national television.
Yeah, it was kind of loud. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fouled straight back, and it's 1-2 now on McCann.
And congratulations to the Wolverines and also the Spartans, both winning their games yesterday.
Yeah, big day. Of course, the Spartans beat Oregon, but Jim Harbaugh got his first win at Michigan Stadium as their head coach.
He did. We had a chance to watch both of those games.
Yeah, it was quite nice. Moya with his lead at first. And he'll draw a throw. Steven, an infield single to get things rolling here in the second. See if the Tigers capitalize. And a foul just out of the glove of the catcher Gomes. 1-2 the count stays. Moya last year at Erie stole 16 bases. He's measuring his lead at first. Stands 6 feet 6 inches tall.
He's got a huge lead over there.
And Anderson missed outside. Run the count now to 2-2. September, a big month here for Moya. Don't know how many starts he'll be getting. I think Brad has intimated that he'll get him in there every now and then to see what he can do, but it's a chance for him to show, at least with a strong September going into spring camp next year, that he may be ready. We'll see. Drill to left field on a line, and that's going to drop in front of Brantley. Base hit for McCann, who continues to swing it.
It might not be all bad for Moya to play some winter ball as well this year, because you brought it up. He missed some time early this year with that plantar fasciitis. It's a changeup. We told you that Anderson loves to throw his changeup to right-handed batters, and therefore every now and then you will make a mistake with that pitch. He has thrown 3 changeups to the righty so far today, and JD singled on a changeup, and so did James McCann. So he's not locating it very well early in this game.
Here's the number 9 hitter, Dixon Machado, standing in. .523 in the big leagues this year, his first season in the majors. And Machado sprays it foul, 0-1. Dixon got his first big league hit earlier this year, midsummer. The Tigers were playing in a series against the Athletics. And he picked up a single for his first big league hit off Sean Doolittle. Meanwhile, Anderson now 26 pitches, most of them strikes.
I think that was the only outing of Sean Doolittle's all year.
I think it was.
He went right back on the disabled list after that.
Machado hit .261 in the minor leagues this year. And we have seen, Rod, that at least defensively he can handle his position up here.
There's no question about that. Very soft hands, nice feet, strong throwing arm, and he has very good range. No doubt he's a big league shortstop.
One ball, 2 strikes on Machado. Still only 23 out of San Cristobal. Tigers had 2 on here with only 1 out, trying to extend their 1-0 lead. Swing and a miss. Machado goes down swinging, and there are 2 outs. It will be the first strikeout for Cody Anderson. Now the top of the order, Anthony Gose. Anthony wasted little time, doubled immediately to start this ball game in the top of the first, and then scored on the single by Kinsler. Oh, and 1.
Nice change piece. Really good changeup.
Some pretty good signs this year, at least from Gose and guys like Gose and McCann, 2 young players that are seemingly finishing strong. Anthony having a nice September, likewise McCann. Both of them playing more baseball than they have played really at any time in their careers at this level.
And we were starting to think that Gose was slowing down in the month of August as well, because he had played more baseball in the big leagues in any other season, but he's reached base safely in 16 of his last 17 games.
Little chopper slowly and foul down the first base line. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Gose.
And we talked about the fact that McCann is finishing strong. The Tigers up the middle look very good going into the 2016 season, with Iglesias at shortstop, Kinsler at second, Gose in center, and of course McCann behind the plate. And that's really the nucleus of your team. I mean, that's where you start to build a nice championship squad.
And they've got a couple of nice pieces at the corners too.
Oh, don't yeah, I didn't have to mention that, you know.
Cabrera and Castellanos, so
and
really
one in right field too. And JD,
some nice building blocks. The 1-2 inside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. But you're right, that seems to be what most people talk about. How strong are you up the middle? And I think they concentrate defensively on how strong you are, but those guys are pretty good 2-way players as well.
That last championship team the Tigers had, you had Chet Lemon in center, Trammell and Whitaker up the middle, and of course Big Wheel, Lance Parrish behind the plate.
Outside on Gose, run it full now, 3-2.
I wonder if he'll go back-to-back changeups here to Ghost, knowing that Ghost is an outstanding fastball hitter.
Tigers will start the runners here. They have a 1-0 lead in the second. Now the 3-2. Fouled away. Ghost with his double in the first inning, now a 5-game hitting streak. Tigers trying to build on this 1-0 lead. They lost game 1 on Thursday as the Indians scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th to break a tie and won it 7-5.
If you're Moya, very important to get a good secondary lead here and you're on the move. We cannot afford to have anybody thrown out at home plate.
Runners go, and it's fouled back out of play. Tigers this year have had an inordinate amount of runners thrown out at the plate this season for whatever reason. It's been just an odd year on the base pass. We've had some wacky plays. 24.
Yeah, that's a huge number. Most in Major League Baseball.
So we'll do it again now. 3-2 on Ghost. And the runner's on the move. And a bluff. Tigers hits in this inning from Moya and McCann. A couple of singles. Now the 3-2 again, and another foul by Ghost. So he continues to battle here against Cody Anderson.
Anthony Ghost is doing a very nice job here. The count is 3-2, but he's not just looking for the fastball. He's looking for the baseball, obviously coming out of the hand of Anderson, but he wants to try to guard against swinging at something that's in the dirt. And he's done a very nice job so far of protecting home plate, and he's waiting for Anderson to make a mistake. That's just what you do when you get yourself in a 3-2 count and the guy has a good changeup.
Bouncing ball right side. This time they're going to get Ghost. Kipnis throws him out to retire the side. Tigers threaten with a couple of singles, but lead 2.
Wise, he's starting to throw that slider to left-handed batters, and he's throwing that slider on the outside part of the plate, backdoor variety. Also outstanding sliders away from the right-handers. The fastball, it's at 95 to 97, but he's moving it all around. He's got some tail to it. He's got some cut to it. He elevates the fastball. He's not throwing 100 miles an hour, but he's still very successful and learning to pitch with less as far as the fastball is concerned, and he's been outstanding lately.
Well, they had a 1-2-3 first inning. Back to work he goes as he throws ball 1 to Carlos Santana, who leads it off.
That was a backdoor curveball that Verlander tried to get strike one with to Carlos Santana.
.233 batting average for Santana, and he'll look at a strike called from JV. Santana, Chisenhall, Gomes here in the second. Santana 1 for 4 with a walk in the first game on Thursday. And he will take his walks, 91 of them this year. So he is on his way to yet another 100 walk season. Ball high and away. Santana last year led the league in walks with 113. 3-1. And it's in there, strike 3-2. They played the shift out against Santana with Castellanos in right field. Now with 2 strikes on the batter, Machado will back up a little bit. He was playing closer to the grass, the infield grass. Here's the 3-2. And Santana shoots one right into the shift, and Castellanos throws him out.
MGM brings you the scouting report on Justin Verlander. We've talked about the evolution of his slider in the last number of years, and you can take a look at the usage as far as percentage is concerned. Back in 2011, when he first started throwing that pitch about 8% of the time, now he's up to 17% this year with the slider, and it's the main reason why he has been pretty good lately.
Justin was pretty good in his last start against the Indians, but ended up losing that game. That's fouled back out of play by Chisenhall. Lonnie Chisenhall batting .251, 6 home runs.
He had a great defensive day a couple of nights ago, threw a couple of runners out at home plate. Had 3 assists in the game, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, 2 on 1 play. Here's the 0-1. Ball high. You know, when you look at Chisenhall and what he's done going down to the minor leagues and learning the outfield, he really brought that to the big leagues quickly, because in the month of August he hit over 400 when he returned.
Well, he must feel awfully comfortable out in the outfield these days.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
You brought this name up a couple of days ago. Alex Gordon of the Kansas City Royals, all of a sudden he went from a hot shot prospect at third base, #1 draft choice, struggling at third, moved to the outfield. Different player now.
Here's the 1-2. Ooh, awkward swing there, and he struck him out. Verlander looking sharp, and I mean sharp today. His first strikeout.
And you can see the grip in Verlander's glove. It's the breaking ball, 79 miles an hour, buried beautifully down and in to Chisenhall. You will not get hurt if you can locate your breaking ball there, especially with that kind of depth on that pitch.
So 5 in a row retired by Verlander to start this game. Here's Yan Gomes, the Cleveland catcher. Ball 1 to Gomes. Low batting average this year for Gomes, much lower than last year, which was his breakout season, but still 11 homers. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gomes knocked in a run on Thursday, and the opener was 1 for 4. And Verlander's 1-1. Soft ground ball to short. Machado has it there. couple of 1-2-3s for Justin Verlander. 6 up and 6 down. Tigers baseball today presented by Bell Tire. Really, since August 8th, they've been playing some of their best baseball, maybe their best baseball of the year.
No, they really are. They traded away about 4 veteran players, some older guys they had on their roster. They traded those guys to contending teams, and they brought up some young kids, made some deals, and the youth. They really helped perk up this offense, and Terry Francona, of course, a real good leader, has his team probably playing their best baseball of the season.
Yeah, right now on the outer edge of the wild card standings, they are 4 games behind. Minnesota and LA still in front of them.
They've also started to win some games right here at home. They were a poor offensive team here at home, and they weren't winning very many games. But lately, they have won quite a few games right here at Progressive Field.
Ian Kinsler starts it off. He had a single to knock in the game's only run. That was back in the first inning. He'll tap this one right back to the mound.
A milestone just a couple of days ago for Ian Kinsler, hit number 1,500.
Here is Miguel Cabrera now with 1 away. Anderson has not had a 1-2-3 inning. He's had trouble in each of the first 2, but he's given up just the 1 run.
He was able to get Miggy to hit into a 6-4-3 double play back in the first inning, and Miggy swung at the very first pitch against Anderson.
And Cabrera looks at ball 1. One run, 5 hits for the Tigers in this game. No runs, no hits for the Indians in the early going. 1-1 on Cabrera. Here's the 1-1 offering, way inside. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Well, that's where you have to pitch Miguel. You have to crowd him with fastballs inside. He is so dangerous, and he's absolutely killed Indians pitching since putting on a Tigers uniform, and nothing different this year, hitting nearly 500 against him. Menards brings you the big money encounter. This is one of the more special moments of the year. It happened right here in this ballpark in June. This fan right here yelling at Miguel Cabrera. Miggy said, "I got you." The fan, I mean, this got national attention. Miggy gave him a bat, gave him some gloves, and that fan who had some Tribe gear on, he went home and probably got himself some Tigers gear after that.
That might have been the coolest moment we have seen as far as fan interactions is concerned this year.
It was special.
3 balls, 2 strikes on Cabrera. And he takes ball 4 high, so the Tigers get a 1-out walk. First walk of the game for Anderson. Well, the Tigers face the Kansas City Royals on September 20th at 1:08 p.m. It's Sunday Kids Day, and all kids 14 and under receive a free back-to-school paused lunch cooler. For tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com.
Did you see what Moustakas did yesterday?
Did he have 9 RBIs?
9 RBI in a game with 2 homers.
And one of them was grand slam.
That's ridiculous. Some guys don't drive in 9 in a month.
Well, the Royals needed that win. They were stumbling a bit, especially in Baltimore.
Yeah, they were. There's that $1 million smile that Miguel Cabrera sports that Jim Leland says it's the best smile in baseball.
There's a bouncing ball left side of the infield. Lindor fires to second. There's one, and that's all they will get.
As a matter of fact, we caught up with the former skipper here today. He came in the broadcast booth and chopped it up with us for a few minutes.
He is a lot more relaxed these days than he was in his managing days.
They finally got him out them shorts and them Dockers. I mean, and them boat shoes he'd been wearing all summer. He had some slacks on the sweater. It's a little chilly here today.
A little cooler. There he is. Gotta love catching up with the skip.
Got that coffee. He's one of the all-time best. Great man.
2 outs now, man at first, and here is Victor Martinez. Victor looks at ball 1. Flied out to the right fielder Chisenhall in his first at bat of the ball game. Victor feeling a lot better these days as compared to what he was about a week ago.
What they say, it was a sinus infection?
Yeah, sinus infection, had a bad throat. A lot of stuff going on there.
Those aren't fun.
Slapped the other way, foul, 1-1.
Looked like Victor might be trying to take that easy knock just by hitting that ball down the third baseline. You saw Victor motion to the home plate umpire, Paul Nart. Was that a strike? Still shifted on Victor.
Tigers, when they do a shift like this, they like to bring Castellanos into short right field. The Indians instead leave Lindor to the left side of the infield, and they bring the second baseman Kipnis back farther.
I think the reason why the Tigers do it this way, I think the Minnesota Twins also do it the same way with Trevor Plouffe, their third baseman. I don't think Plouffe and Castellanos can really play that shortstop position. Therefore, if you have a guy like Ramirez, you'll simply put him there because he's playing third today, but he's a shortstop by trade. Lindor, of course, can play that shortstop position. So I think that's why those two teams do it that way. They put the guy in right field that might not be able to handle that much ground on the left side of the infield.
Meanwhile, 2-2 on Victor Martinez. And again, he tries to go the other way, but slams it foul back into the seats.
And those really are the only two teams that I could come to mind that take the third baseman and put him all the way over there. Everybody else does it the other way with Kipnis, like the second baseman in the outfield, Lindor on the other side.
Cody Anderson trying to win his first game at home since July the 9th. For whatever reason, he's not been very good here at Progressive Field. Not nearly as good as he's been on the road. In fact, his ERA at home is a little bit, well, almost 2 points higher than it is on the road. So, you know, we talk oftentimes about how guys are better at home because they're more used to the mound, their surroundings. But it's been the opposite for Anderson. Two balls and 2 strikes. Popped him up. Shallow left field. Ramirez shading his eyes, calling for it. And that will end the inning. Tigers get a base runner. The walk to Cabrera, but that's it. Go to the bottom of the third.
Saturday, especially with the Tigers and the Indians having a day off. James McCann, as much as anybody you will run into, loves his school. He went to the University of Arkansas, and he literally wears his heart on his sleeves and on his shoulders and on his person. There is a houndstooth red and white Arkansas Razorbacks sport coat. Obviously, he's pulling for the Razorbacks, who had a tough day against Toledo. And earlier in the week, he actually was joking when he said, I didn't even know Toledo had a football team. And then the mighty Rockets beat his Razorbacks on Saturday. Congratulations to your team, Mario. Nice win last night.
Thank you very much, Keats. I appreciate it. I'll bet you he knows that Toledo has a football team today, doesn't he?
I think all the proud people in Toledo are making sure of that. Exactly.
How about him pulling off that jacket, though? He looked pretty good in that jacket.
How about that?
Abraham Almonte is leading it off here in the third. Well, big days we mentioned earlier in the state of Michigan yesterday. Congratulations to the Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh and their win over Oregon State.
And now the Lions, they've got to handle their business today. They're out in San Diego.
The state of Oregon took it on the chin yesterday to a couple of Michigan schools. No balls, 2 strikes on Almonte. Johnson to follow, and then Ramirez. We're in the bottom of the third, and a swing and a miss, and Verlander is on a roll.
He's on point here today. Fastball has some life on it. He's gotten up to 94 with the heater. He's moving it all around the plate. This is the 4-seam fastball. You can see him with the 2 fingers across the seams, and it's straight. And he throws it right by Almonte up in the strike zone. If you weren't with us at the top of the show, we told you that Verlander strategically placing that fastball last 5-6 starts up in the strike zone on purpose.
Now Chris Johnson will bat out of the 8th slot today. Looks at strike 1.
I mean, you've always had pitching coaches say forever, work down, work down, work down. But if you've got 95 as far as your fastball is concerned and you can locate it, you can work up in the strike zone on occasion and be successful. That slider, man,
he wasn't even close.
That slide piece is a real good pitch for him these days.
So Verlander had to wait a couple of days to make this start, but he's looked really sharp.
Yeah, maybe the extra couple of days helped him out a little bit. I know I got some rest here in Cleveland, didn't you?
Not a whole lot else to do with the rain falling. Last 2 days, of course, the 2 teams waited it out last night, and they finally decided that there wasn't going to be baseball last night either. Here's the 1-2. Ground ball second base side. Kinsler has it there. Johnson is out. 2 up, 2 gone here in the third. Here is what Justin has done in his last 9 compared to his first 6, and you can see it is starting with the ERA. Well, that's a huge improvement.
And 6 of those starts have been on the road. One not so good start that he had, but 5 of his starts on the road have been tremendous in his last 9.
The opponents averaged just over 200 in that good stretch. There's a strike called on Jose Ramirez. 4 home runs this year for Ramirez, getting the start at third base. Checked it, strike called.
And 2 of those home runs are coming in the last week or so for him. 1 from each side of the plate.
Now the 0-2 coming home. And he just got a piece of it, staying alive.
Yeah, Verlander could simply go upstairs again with a 92, 93 mile per hour fastball, get another swing and miss, and get his 3rd strikeout of this game. That's exactly what McCann has called for. Nope, Verlander wants that slider.
One and 2. Ramirez had a double in the opener and was 1 for 3 in that game. Very versatile performer, a lot of different positions. They've got him today at third base. And he'll poke that one foul. Back in the seats. 1 and 2 on Jose Ramirez. The Tigers got a run in the first inning. 2 batters into the game. A double and a single. And that has been it so far. 1-0 Tigers. Drilled to center field. That ball's going to drop. Base hit. Ghost goes over to cut it off. Ramirez trying for 2, and he's in there with a double. 2-out, 2-base hit for Jose Ramirez. First hit of the game for the Indians. Let's check in now with the game break. Here's Justin White. Yeah, no doubt, J-Dub. The shoulder injury and that collision yesterday with Pilar, that could be big for Toronto.
It looks scary. I mean, after that ball was caught by Tulowitzki and he made contact with the center fielder, the way that he fell just did not look good.
Kipnis looks at a strike.
I mean, it was almost like a boxer, like getting knocked out, just kind of fell down very casually.
Well, I maintain that Tulowitzki is probably more valuable to them for what he does defensively than what he does offensively.
That's a great point.
I mean, they've got enough bats in that lineup, but he really is solidified shortstop. Kipnis flying out his first time up. Backed him out of there. 1 ball and 1 strike. The Bernstein advantage brings us the pitcher-batter matchup. And here are the lowest numbers against JV career. How about Kipnis? Just 100 career.
All those guys bat left-handed as well. Ibanez, Wieters, and Teixeira, along with Kipnis. Of course, Teixeira and Wieters are switch hitters, but they bat left-handed against Justin. And Justin pretty much has owned those guys with that changeup that he's had a number of years. It's been a really good pitch for him, and that curveball.
Kipnis is 4 for 40 lifetime against Justin Verlander. And it's not been a good matchup for him. Trying to deliver the game-tying run here with 2 outs in the 3rd. Swing and a miss. He will not do it as Verlander takes care of him. 3rd strikeout for Justin. 2-out double is stranded. We go to the 4th.
Right fielder who has not been out there that long. Base hit the opposite way. He comes up, he fires home, and then Ghost gets himself into a rundown. And the right fielder, we're talking about Chisenhall, he comes all the way in from his outfield position, and then he throws the ball home to get the get the out at home plate.
The circle lingered.
It did. I don't know. I couldn't get rid of it. But anyway, I mean, that's a special play for a guy that's never really played outfield. And we talk about it a lot when you're on the baseball field.
There's a slow roller on a broken bat to Lindor at short, and Castellanos is out.
You've always got somewhere to be. I mean, if you get caught watching the action, and he could have very easily got caught watching the action, and they wouldn't have got that out at home plate, but he was alert. He got to the infield to apply the tag to Ghost and to finish the play by getting Romine at home plate, and that's just so rare to see that, because you just don't see guys making the transition from one position to the other position, but then having the alertness to get in to make a play like that.
So you think his infield instincts might have had something to do with that?
And his baseball IQ. Just the fact that he knew he had somewhere to go and to watch that play evolve.
Here's Steven Moya with one out. He drives one high in the air to right field. Chisenhall going back to the track, to the wall. He looks up and it's off the top of the wall. Moya is on his way to third base. He's going to get in there. They're going to stop him there. And Moya very nearly hit his first major league home run.
Chisenhall saw it initially and then he lost it. He does have glasses on, but see, that's another thing as far as playing the outfield. He did turn his body to the side. He's looking directly into the sun, and therefore the ball never came out of the sun for him. Had he turned his body to the side, he may have been able to see that ball by allowing it to come out of the sun, but that's just new playing outfield.
And I think he would have had a play on that ball because it hit halfway up the wall.
Oh, no doubt.
So it'll go as a triple, the first major league triple for Moya. And now the Indians will draw the infield in a little bit as James McCann steps in. McCann a single in the second. Tigers already in this game have 6 hits. Popped him up. Shallow left field. Lindor going back to the grass and calling. Now he's called off by Brantley, who had a better angle in case Moya was thinking of coming home. 2 outs. That'll bring up Dixon Machado. For Machado, a strikeout. He is 0 for 1. And Dixon was up there with 2 outs, or with 1 out rather, and 2 men on in his first at bat, but stranded a couple of runners. Fouled straight back. Machado had a healthy cut.
Yes, he did. He's gotten better with the bat the last couple of years. A couple of years ago in A-ball, playing in the Florida State League, he was known as the best defensive shortstop in that league, but he didn't weigh a whole lot. He's put on some weight the last couple of years. A couple of pretty good offensive seasons, and the bat is finally caught up with the glove.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but it looks like he's even a little bit bigger now than he was when he first came up a couple of months ago. And misses low. I mean, his first couple of at-bats, you could tell he just really wasn't all that strong. And, you know, Dix is not a big guy to begin with in terms of bulk. But he can play him some defense, to be sure. Trying to drive in a run here with 2 outs. Little chopper foul to third base.
I remember Jose Iglesias telling me a conversation regarding him and Omar Vizquel a couple of years ago when Omar was finishing up his career playing for Toronto. He told Iglesias, put your glove down. Don't take one ground ball this offseason. Get stronger, pick up a bat, start to hit. I'm sure he's given that same kind of advice to Machado.
Got him, strike 3, and Cody Anderson pitching around a 1-out triple. Tigers strained a golden opportunity to add a run. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th in Cleveland. Here as we go to the bottom of the fourth, game one in this doubleheader, as Francisco Lindor will lead things off for the Indians. And here are some of the ranks. Rod, you were touching on this a little bit earlier. Since the All-Star break, he's been awfully good. Yeah, he's the main reason why, along with some of the other youth that has come up. And of course you do have Michael Brantley, but this is a really good player, and this is where he ranks as far as rookies are concerned since the All-Star break. Batting average first, hits, doubles, and runs scored. And the Cleveland Indians have just taken off since this youngster's come up. You know, I know it's not fair to judge guys when they first get to the major leagues, especially their first week, 2 weeks, or even month. But when we saw Lindor at the beginning, I think both of us just thought, okay, maybe nice little player, but not what he's done. He's shown some power. Great glove defensively. This guy's really come on. And some of the things that we don't see that they see in their clubhouse, those intangibles, clubhouse presence, leadership ability, they say that he has all of that. No balls, 1 strike. Lindor, Brantley, Santana here in the fourth inning. That's slapped in the air toward left. Moya backing up. He'll run it down for the first out. That will probably be the biggest adjustment for Moya, going from right field to left field, playing the slice off of the left-hander's bat. That was an easy fly ball there that was slicing, so he was able to get underneath that one, no problem. But when he gets that first line drive out there that's hit on the line, that's slicing, that's going to be his most difficult play. Much different than seeing that ball when you're playing right field. Here's Michael Brantley. Soft line out back in the first inning. The Indians have only 1 hit. That was a Ramirez double back in the third. That's it. And it came with 2 outs. So Verlander just picking up where he has left off in his last couple of starts, really his last month. There's a ball high to Brantley. Verlander has had no problem getting ahead of just about every last one of these hitters today. However, he's been 0-2 or 1-2, Mario, on 9 batters already here today. Whoa. And you would think that those would be situations where he would start to pile up a lot of strikeouts, but the one thing I've noticed about Verlander lately, not piling up lots of strikeouts. It's almost like he's adopted that theory that David Price had, either on or out in 3 pitches. I like that theory, and certainly in preserving your arm and getting deeper into games. That really helps in that regard. Ooh, nice pitch. Especially on 2-0. Well, Verlander had a 9 strikeout game 3 starts ago, but his last 2 only 4 punch outs. Changeup with tremendous arm action and arm speed. And you can see the grip. That's the circle change. Brantley looks good when he swings and misses, doesn't he? He's got one pretty swing, man. You know, you got something going when you look smooth even in the bad times. I mean, he was fooled like nobody's business, but he still looked real smooth with that swing. It's almost like, you know what, I meant to do that. No big deal. 2-2. Brantley. Gonna try that changeup again. This one is skied in the air to shallow center, and Machado calling. And Brantley is out. He's 0 for 2. 2 up, 2 down here in the fourth. Hey, just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one today to look forward to Miller Time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, we've talked about this before, Rod, but when you got Verlander pitching like this, it's going to make the offseason decisions just a tad easier, knowing you've got that one guy at the top of the rotation now. Really? I mean, your ace. I mean, the guy that's going to get the ball opening day in Miami next year. I believe it's the 5th of April. He will be that guy. And every 5th day, he gives you a legitimate chance to win when he's out there. Look at this list. Kershaw, Arrieta, Sonny Gray, and Bumgarner, and Justin Verlander. 3 of those guys are in the Cy Young conversation. And Bumgarner, he nearly pitched a perfect game last night. Yeah, he's pretty good. What he did in the postseason last year was amazing. Verlander this year had that string of opening day starts come to an end. He had started 7 consecutive opening days for the Tigers. I'm giving Jake Arrieta the Cy Young right now. Are you really? Yeah, I am. I've changed my pick. You know, Kershaw's there.
He's made some noise lately. Greinke was there all year, but I'm going Arrieta right now.
Up and in on Santana. Well, it'll be hard to argue with that. I think that Arrieta certainly has established himself as a tremendous big league pitcher, and it wasn't like that early on in his career with the Orioles.
His stuff is as good as any in the game right now.
2 balls, 1 strike. Make it 3-1 now on Santana, who bounced out his first time up.
Verlander does not have to throw Santana a fastball here to get Santana to swing. He can go slider, he can go curveball, or he can even go with his changeup.
Fouled away, 3-2.
Went fastball at 93 that was located beautifully on the outside.
Lonnie Chisenhall waiting on deck. Game 2 starters: Trevor Bauer for the Indians, Randy Wolf for the Tigers.
And Matt Boyd got bumped from his start. Actually, they don't know when Boyd's going to pitch again now.
Yeah, it might be a week or so. There's another swing and a miss and 4 strikeouts for Justin Verlander. He's cruising through the early part of this game. Lost it. What was it, the 8th inning last night? No hitter through 7 and a third, and Bumgarner finally gives up his first hits and got the big round of applause. And well, you start looking at the National League and some of the best in the NL, and there's the Arrieta guy you're talking about.
He's going to win 20. Bumgarner has a legitimate shot of winning 20 this year. Thought Garrett Cole was going to get there, but he slowed down lately. Get this on the base hit that was given up by Bumgarner last night. He gave up that hit to Melvin Up. He used to be known as BJ. He was 0 for 10 in his career against Bumgarner, so he didn't start. But Pat Murphy pinch hit him, and he got the hit against Bumgarner.
He pinch hit a guy that was 0 for 10 against him.
He did. It's always that way. That's always that pinch hitter that comes up, a guy that hadn't seen that pitcher on any, those other at bats, and those guys usually break it up.
Well, here come the Tigers now as we go to the 5th inning. It'll be Anthony Gose. Top of the order coming up: Gose, Kinsler, and Cabrera facing the right-hander Cody Anderson. Anderson has been able to sidestep trouble every inning so far, with the exception of the first. He gave up the game's only run then. 2 balls, 1 strike on Gose. Tigers already have left 5 men on base in this game. There's a strike on Gose, make it 2-2.
Indians have themselves a pretty nice starting rotation. And with Anderson, Carrasco, and Bauer. Kluber's on his way back, and you all know all about Danny Salazar. It's a nice rotation.
Grounded just foul outside of the bag.
All right-handers, but that really doesn't make a difference when you have guys that have fastballs that get up to 97, 98, 99 miles an hour. As a matter of fact, no starting staff has struck out more batters than Cleveland staff this year. They're close to the top.
They're first in strikeouts per 9. They're first in complete games. And their pitching has certainly led the way. Here are some of the ranks for the starters. Goes full now, 3-2.
That's why so many people at the beginning of the year, because of the 4 starters, not so much Anderson, because he really hadn't burst on the scene yet. Many had Cleveland getting into the postseason and going very deep simply because of their rotation.
The Indians have won 11 of their last 15 games. And they're trying to make a charge here down the stretch for that wild card. We mentioned they're 4 games back, but 2 other teams ahead of them for the last wild card spot.
Tito Francona, his 3rd managerial stop. Won a couple championships in Boston. Managed in Philadelphia. And now here in Cleveland.
A couple of years ago, manager of the year in 2013 in the American League. And part of the reason, well, down the stretch since 13, they've been really good. Got him, strike 3. Ghosts battled and battled, but they call him out. 1 gone.
Good cut fastball there to finish Ghosts off. Ghosts thought it was away. As a matter of fact, Anderson started the ball off the plate, but the natural cutting action allowed it to catch the corner, and a nice frame job there by Gomes. He pulled it up enough to get Paul Nart to give him the call.
1 away for Ian Kinsler. He is responsible for the only run of the game so far. Singled in a man in the 1st inning. Singled in Ghosts, as a matter of fact, who led off with a double. Kinsler in search of another multi-hit game. He has 54 of those so far this year. Much of his damage has come in the second half of the 2015 season. Ball inside. Tigers have been off the last couple of nights, so a couple of other guys have jumped in front of Kinsler as far as the amount of hits to lead the league. Altuve, Bogarts, and Donaldson, the top 3. Kinsler is 4th. You pull that one back into the seats.
And with those couple of days off the Tigers have had the last couple of nights, we haven't talked about this yet, that bullpen, which was beat up and battered, and they were able to get some rest.
Tigers have the highest bullpen ERA in the American League. Slow roller towards second. Kipnis. 2 outs.
Well, it's a good thing that they were able to get to Anderson in the very 1st inning here today, because since then he has really settled in nicely. Lots of first pitch strikes, moving that cutter around, and occasional change up, but mostly fastballs.
Now Miguel Cabrera walking a double play ball for Miggy.
As a matter of fact, of the 77 pitches that Anderson has thrown, 75% have been fastballs.
Outside, 2 balls, no strikes.
He walked to Miggy's last time up, and it looks like he's not going to mess with Miguel again in this particular at bat. We'll see. I couldn't blame him, that much is for sure.
Not at all. There's a strike called. 2 balls, 1 strike. Cabrera this year, 483 coming in against Indians pitching, 359 career.
Is that good?
That's like off the charts good.
He's going to win his 4th batting title. And it's not even going to be close. There was a stretch there where he first came off the disabled list, as hot as he was, and I think he was up to like 379.
Yeah.
I was starting to think 400.
We were. I mean, we started doing the numbers, calculating it. Could it happen? Swing and miss.
I mean, because you have a guy that didn't have a full season, you know, so you didn't have to really worry about having 600 plate appearances, 600 at-bats, and that batting average, it fluctuates a lot when you don't have that many at-bats, and boy, was he starting to get up there as far as that conversation was concerned.
High fly ball, shallow center field. Almonte coming in. So is Chisenhall, who makes the catch. It'll be a 1-2-3 5th inning for Anderson. Tigers baseball today, presented by Bell Tire.
Standing pitch for him. He throws it right around 83, 84 miles an hour. Lots of swings and misses. Lots of backdoor breaking balls to the left-handed batters. And when they start looking for that breaking ball, he'll give you 96 with that fastball. And then he'll slow you back down with that real good curveball. He's simply been on point here this afternoon against the Tribe. So outstanding outing so far turned in by the Tigers ace.
And he'll go back to work now as Chisenhall fouls it back out of play. Only one hit allowed by Verlander, the 2-out double to Ramirez in the 3rd.
How about the depth and the break that Verlander's starting to get on that slider, and even making his curveball that much better here today against this Tribe, mostly dominant left-handed lineup.
Well, it took Verlander a while to get to this point after coming off the disabled list this year, but he has returned to ace status for this team.
Verlander, when he first came to the big leagues, he had 3 pitches. He had a curve, he had a change, and he had the fastball. And he was dominant with those 3. But about 2011, he started throwing that slider. And it has now evolved into a really good pitch for him.
The fastball back in those days reaching triple digits, which doesn't happen anymore today. But as you mentioned, that 4th pitch really has become a good one. Here's the 1-1. High and away. 2 balls, 1 strike on Lonnie Chisenhall.
He used to get up to 100 miles an hour, 100 pitches into the game into the 9th inning. He had that extra gear.
Gomes and then Almonte to follow as we play here in the bottom of the 5th. 1-0. Tigers have the lead. Ball high. 3-1 on Chisenhall. Gomes on deck. And he lost him. That'll be a leadoff walk here in the 5th inning. Check in with John Keating now. Has an update on a couple of guys coming off the disabled list.
Yeah, it was during the rain showers here that Daniel Norris and Anibal Sanchez were each participating in a simulated game in a batting cage beneath the stands here at the ballpark, and each was proclaimed okay. And so on Wednesday, when the Tigers are in Minnesota, they will share a start. Sanchez will start it. He'll be followed by Norris. Each of them will pitch 45 to 50 pitches or so in that game. So it's Kyle Lobstein tomorrow in Minneapolis, followed by Alfredo Simon, and then the tandem on Wednesday. And as Rod mentioned, that will bump Matt Boyd from the rotation, at least for now. They'll skip him one turn and then try to get his innings to line up to be exactly where they want him to pitch this season.
Hey, Keith, that's not really the worst thing in the world because they were trying to limit Boyd's innings, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
You want all the starting depth you can have, and so obviously the Tigers would like to be playing games that mattered a little bit more than they are right now, but at least they have some arms down the stretch.
All right, John, thanks. Well, the Tigers will get a couple of guys back into the rotation. That's good because you certainly want to make sure that Norris and Sanchez are good before the season is done. There's a pop-up down the right field line, but foul back out of play.
That will make the decisions in the offseason that much easier for Al Avila, the new general manager. The fact that you know that Norris is healthy, you know that Sanchez is healthy, you know Verlander's pitching like an ace. So whatever you do in the offseason, it just makes your job a little bit easier, knowing you've got most of your rotation intact. Norris said it felt good to get some swings and misses, even though they had to throw in the tunnel yesterday, or the batting cage.
Good stop there by McCann. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's one thing I used to hate, man, hitting off pitchers in the cage. I mean, you can't see all that well anyway. And
How often did you do that?
You did it every now and then when guys needed some work, or if you couldn't get out in the field and you needed to take some batting practice. It is not fun hitting against guys that throw 95, 96 in a cage.
I can imagine. Well, it wasn't the optimal situation, but obviously the rain forced them indoors and underneath to do that in the cage. But they had to figure out if Sanchez and Norris are good to go to get him back in. That's going to be a fair ball down the first base line. It got through Miggy. On his way to third, Chisenhall. They're going to stop in there. Throw to second, not in time. And Gomes has a cue shot double down the first base side.
That is an absolute mistake there by Yan Gomes. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in this way, that he is a dead pull hitter. I mean dead pull hitter. And he was just late with his swing. Miguel was holding Chisenhall on at first base, and that ball sliced right inside the bag, right underneath the glove of Miguel Cabrera. I mean, Gomes never hits the ball to right field. Very seldom.
So it's second and third, and the Indians have just their second hit against Verlander. But now JV facing the bottom 3 in the lineup. Here is Abraham Almonte.
Well, we'll see if Verlander still has the ability that he used to have when he got himself in these types of situations. He could simply strike out the next 2 guys. No problem. He'll need a strikeout here.
Almonte takes low and in, 1-0. Second and third, nobody out. We're in the 5th. Almonte struck out in the 3rd inning. He's 0 for 1. He did have a pretty good game in the opener, though, including a homer. It was 2 out of 4. Verlander will throw from the windup with men at second and third. Fouled it off.
That's the best fastball of the afternoon so far, thrown at 95 miles an hour. And here comes Xfinity to sponsor this high-speed pitch at 95. Johnny on the spot.
It's like they knew it was coming. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's almost like they were waiting for that mid-90s.
Okay, get it in, go, go. Almonte waits on a 1-1. Here it is. Ooh, just missed outside. 2-1.
Verlander wanted that. You could tell the way that he looked in at Paul Nart, home plate umpire. He wanted this pitch, and it could have very easily been given to him.
Just a shade off the plate, according to Mr. Fox Tracks. Now time is called as McCann will go out to the mound. It was this very mound that Verlander made his major league debut on as a rookie in '05 against the Indians, and through the years he has seen this Tribe team a lot, being in the same division obviously, but 43rd start this year or today against the Indians in his career, which is more than any other opponent that he has faced. Our next telecast, well, you don't have to wait too long. It's following game one here today. The Tigers and Indians, second game in the doubleheader. They'll have about 30 minutes between games, and then we'll bring you game two. Just off the plate outside, and now it's 3-1 on El Monte.
Old school doubleheader here today. Usually when the Tigers play a doubleheader, it's a day-night affair. Not so much here today.
There's Johnson waiting on deck.
And now Verlander and McCann not necessarily on the same page with runners in scoring position. They had no problem staying in sync with one another, and when Verlander was not pitching in any stress.
Strike called. Almonte was on his way to first.
Well, he didn't get the call on the curveball on the previous pitch a couple of pitches ago, but he got the benefit of the doubt there on that two-seam tailing fastball in the mid-90s. Guess Mr. Fox Tracks need a little work too. He was off for a couple days too.
Well, that evened up. He got that call. Now we'll see what he comes back with on 3-2. And that's ball four. That will load the bases with Indians and nobody out. 2 walks in this inning now for Verlander. And here is Chris Johnson. .66 now for a JV.
Here's where, if you're on the corners, if you're Miguel Cabrera and you're Castellanos, you have to kind of read the play. If the ball's hit sharp enough to you that where you can turn two, then you try to do that. But if it's not hit firm at you, you simply come home and get that out.
And Johnson nowhere near that last pitch.
Yeah, he was looking for a fastball, and he swung a slider that was 5 feet off the plate. That was never a strike.
4-3 ground out his first at bat. He was acquired for the Braves on August 7th. He traded away Bourne and Swisher. Little chopper foul.
And that was more of a guys needed a change of scenery. Johnson needed a change of scenery from the Atlanta Braves, and of course Bourne and Swisher. They needed a change of scenery as well. Neither performed very well here in the Tribe uniform.
Tito going to his bucket of gum. Now the 0-2. McCann smothers it. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Johnson missed most of May with a fractured wrist. Waiting on deck is Ramirez, the number 9 hitter. Line drive, base hit right field. Chisenhall scores. Martinez charging it, gets it back in quickly. It'll be an RBI single for Chris Johnson. 1-1 ball game.
It looked like a fastball away from Johnson. He simply went with the pitch and was able to find some real estate on the opposite side of the field. And you know, Martinez in right field has a strong arm, so therefore and not trying to force the issue were the Indians.
Yeah, Gomes was held at third base. At second now is Almonte. Johnson at first, and here's Ramirez. Checked it low. 1 ball, no strikes. 1 run on 3 hits now for the Tribe.
I don't know if it's coincidence or what, but Verlander was so good through the first 4 innings, and he was doing it for the most part with a good slider, a good curveball, a changeup, and a fastball that was right around 92. All of a sudden you get in a little stress, and then the fastball goes up to 95, and it's almost like you're trying to throw the ball by the hitters now, opposed to pitching the way that you were pitching through the first 4 innings.
Yeah, because really in the first 4 they had done nothing. They had a double from Ramirez in the third, but that was it. Now Verhagen warming up in the Detroit bullpen,
and he was basically throwing every single pitch that McCann called for. But in this particular inning, he and McCann really haven't been on the same page.
Of course, Alani is also joining Verhagen. Ramirez will drive it foul, back out of play, 1-2. He's had a couple of doubles already in this series. Indians trying to take their first lead. They've tied it up. Bases loaded, nobody out. Another foul, back out of play. This is an Indians team that's had 10 or more hits in 13 straight games. And that hadn't been done since 1936 here at Progressive Field. So they've been playing well at home. They've been in a good stretch overall. They got a chance to take the lead here. Here's the 1-2. Popped him up. That's going to help. Middle of the infield, it'll be Kinsler, and the runners will hold.
That really helps. Now 1 pitch can get Verlander out of the inning if he can get himself a ground ball.
Well, he's going to face Kipnis, a guy that, as we documented earlier in the game, he's been absolutely dominating. And he's got him down 0-2 today, or 0-2, and now all of a sudden 75 the pitch count for JV. Fly ball and a strikeout for Kipnis. Ball 1 low on Kipnis, who is now 0-6 in the series. This year, though, he's been one of the better hitters at home. The average now at 0.98 against Verlander, but at home this year, 362 entering play today. Way inside, 2 balls, no strikes. They've got him loaded with Gomes and Almonte and Johnson. And this has now turned into a 25 pitch inning for Verlander. On the outer edge, 2-1.
Kind of surprised that Kipnis didn't swing at that 2-0 pitch. I mean, if you're in the batter's box now and you've had those kind of struggles against Verlander and you're ahead of him 2 balls and no strikes, and he throws you a fastball and it's called a strike, I'm shocked he didn't swing at it, to be honest with you.
Here's the 2-1. Popped him up. Man, oh man, this could be another big out. Here comes Castellanos, and there are 2 gone.
And Verlander's in Kipnis' head right now.
Bases remain loaded. Kipnis unable to get it done, and now Lindor. This would be a major Houdini act if JV can get out of this inning with only 1 run. Lindor, though, who is 0 for 2, will stand in. And Lindor rolls it foul 0-1.
And Tigers defensively in the outfield, they shade Lindor over toward left field. Ghosts in left center field. Moya in left field, not playing very deep. In right field, however, JD Martinez pretty much playing him straight up. Got a little power. 8 home runs this year for Lindor. Most of those left-handed.
Yeah, he didn't hit too many in the minor leagues, just a couple of them in 2 months in the minors. Had a big rip there, and it's 0-2.
That is a really good pitch. When you see a guy that has his hands as low as Lindor carries his hands before the pitch, then it's really good to throw that fastball upstairs because it's tough for them to get to it. Hands start very low.
Now 1 strike away for Verlander, trying to keep the bases loaded here.
And you get a good look at Lindor's hands now. And really how low he has them. Most hitters don't have their hands as low as he starts his. Chokes up on the bat.
JV again steps off. And so he's chuckling at McCann.
Well, at least they can laugh about it.
Yeah. They've had their issues here in this inning. Now the 0-2. High 1-2.
97.
He tried to finish him off with the high octane fastball, but missed a little bit too high. Wasn't tempting enough for Lindor to chase it.
That's the one thing that opposing managers used to marvel regarding Verlander. He could throw you one pitch at 92 and then climb to 100 on the next pitch.
There's a ground ball, base hit up the middle into center field. 1 run scores. Almonte will come in, and Lindor gets it done with 2 outs. A 2-run single for Francisco Lindor after he fell behind 0-2.
Lindor must have known he was going to get a breaking ball from Verlander because on the previous pitch it was 97, and you see where the hands are very low. And this breaking ball just kind of lands softly right over the plate. And he was in his 2-strike approach. That's not a bad pitch, but he went down to get it. He was choked up on the bat and hit it right back through the box for a big knock. Justin nearly got out of it. And Lindor fired up.
Well, you're down 0-2 with 2 outs after a couple of pop-ups. And you come through with a single to center field to make it 3-1. Indians have their first lead of the day, and a strike is called on Brantley.
It's really been Lindor and Brantley that have done most of the damage at home in the month of September, which has allowed their home record to, just be as good as it is.
Brantley is 0 for 2 in this game. Fouled straight back, no balls, 2 strikes. Brantley a line out and a pop up. And 3 RBIs and a couple of homers on Thursday in the first ball game in the series, including the game winner in the 8th. That's in the air, slicing away from Moya. Shallow left field on the charge. Moya makes the catch. Into foul territory he goes, and that'll be it for the Indians. However, they scored 3 times to take their first lead of the game. by Francisco Lindor. And when you talk about what teammates have been able to do, this is what you touched on, Rod, since the All-Star break. There haven't been many that have been better.
No, Brantley and Lindor combined 356, and then you have Miguel and Ian Kinsler checking in at 349. So a couple of duos that have been doing nice work since the All-Star break.
So the Tigers have some work to do now as we go to the 6th inning. It'll be Martinez, and Castellanos. And the first one is in for a strike. 3 runs on 4 hits for Cleveland. A run on 6 hits, but 5 left for Detroit. JD had a single in the first, reaching on a fielder's choice in his last at bat. 0-2. Tigers got a run in the first inning, double by Ghost, single by Kinsler, and that's been it. Cody Anderson has done the rest. In the air toward left field, long run. Brantley still going, not going to get there. It'll drop in. On his way to second is Martinez. He is in with a leadoff double. 2-base hit for JD, his 100th career double. That is the 7th Tigers hit of the day.
Well, you know, the Tigers are not going to go quietly in this ballpark. They've had a lot of success here the last number of years, and the Indians know that.
Last time the Tigers faced Cody Anderson, they managed just 2 hits in 7 innings against him. Today they have 7 already. Victor drives one foul. Martinez fly ball and a pop up 0-for-2. Tigers have 3 extra base hits in this game, 2 doubles and a triple. The 3-bagger belongs to Steven Moya. Strike called. Bender that drops in 0-2.
He hasn't thrown many curveballs today, mostly fastballs, whether it be the 4-seamer or the cutter. And he's thrown some changeups, but very few curveballs.
The 0-2 is a fastball that darts away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1-2-3 inning in the 5th for Anderson. That was his first inning in which the Tigers went in order. Now the 1-2. On the ground to the shortstop. Lindor will have only 1 play, and Martinez is out, which advances JD. 1 away for Castellanos.
Stepping into the batter's box for Detroit, the third baseman Castellanos.
It's going to bring Mickey Callaway out of the dugout, the Tribe pitching coach.
Well, he also wants to refresh the memory here of Anderson, knowing that Castellanos loves to swing at first pitch fastballs. And we'll see if they decide to throw Castellanos a first pitch fastball.
There is Zach McAllister warming up in their bullpen.
Another hard thrower, former starter out of that Tribe bullpen.
Tigers only 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position today, and that 1 was the Kinsler single to drive in their run in the first. Castellanos, couple of ground balls, 0-for-2. Martinez let it off with a double. He's standing at third now with 1 out. Ball 1.
Did not throw Castellanos that first pitch fastball. I think the league is starting to understand that Castellanos really feast on first pitch fastballs, especially with runners in scoring position. Got to give him one now.
We'll see what Nick is able to do with it. Here's the number 1.
Yep.
High fly ball right field, deep enough to score the run. Chisenhall lines it up. He'll go to the warning track to make the play, and Martinez will score with ease to make it 3-2. Well, Nick gets an RBI. Hey, follow the Tigers wherever you are with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or tablet. It's going to be it for Cody Anderson, so he'll depart. It's a wall side windows pitching change, and we'll be back. Detroit is brought to you by Bell Tire. Get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. Myers, save big with M-Perks from Myers. Sign up at mperks.com. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. Cody Anderson is done for the afternoon. 5 2/3, 7 hits, 2 runs. He walked 1. And struck out 3. He will depart and give the baseball to the bullpen now. It'll be Zach McAllister.
McAllister's got a big arm. He's got a fastball that gets all the way up to 95, 96 miles an hour. He's got a slider, also a curveball, and an occasional split-fingered fastball thrown by McAllister. He's pitching very well out of their bullpen. Outstanding numbers.
Tigers have gotten 1 of the runs back. They're down 3-2 now as Steven Moya stands in with the bases empty. It's been a good day for Moya. Infield single and a triple. And he swings right through it 0-1. Moya called up on Tuesday from Toledo. Where he hit 20 home runs, knocked in 74. Missed the inside part of the plate, 1-1.
And did you see where Daniel Fields was picked up by the Milwaukee Brewers after he was designated for assignment a few days ago?
I did. Good opportunity for Daniel.
Yeah, they put him right on the 40-man roster, so Daniel gets another opportunity.
It's like you're always talking about when you see young players, whether they're playing in the big leagues or the minor leagues. You're not only playing for your team and your organization and yourself, but other teams too.
For sure. I'm sure there's someone that has seen Daniel along the lines that really liked him. In this case, Milwaukee, but he wouldn't have lasted very long as far as any teams are concerned. Milwaukee has one of the worst records in baseball, so they were the team that grabbed him. But a lot of teams probably would have taken the opportunity to add Daniel Fields to their organization.
2-2 on Moya.
He's thrown a couple of fastballs right by Steven.
3-2.
Here's where you have to choke up just a little bit if you're Steven, even though you're a big, strong, physical guy. You choke up just a hair, and you make sure you take a shorter swing, quicker swing. You don't want to be big. You don't want to be long. More you can hit a good fastball.
And he lost in ball 4, so Moya reaches for the 3rd time in this game. 2-out base runner. Tying run is on now for McCann.
Number 34, James McCann.
Single and a flyout for McCann in this game. Tigers led 1-0, fell behind 3-1, now 3-2. Up and in, spun him out of there.
And that low 3/4 arm slot that McAllister features, which allows him to get a little run on his fastball. That one ran up a little bit too close in on McCann.
Way outside, 2 balls, no strikes.
He's thrown all fastballs since he's come in, right? Every last pitch.
Yep, every one of them. Meanwhile, Giovanni Soto beginning to warm up in the Tribe bullpen.
And we know that Terry Francona will try to match up the remainder of this game, especially with a surplus of pitchers in the month of September in his bullpen.
Two balls, no strikes. Moya, the tying run at first. Way outside, 3 balls and no strikes. We were chatting during the break. You wondered why Anderson was taken out of this game after that sac fly by Castellanos. And he may be one of those guys where they're watching the innings.
Yep. Also hasn't pitched very well here at home. Terry might have wanted to get him out. And with a good taste in his mouth while he was still winning.
3-1.
Then again, you have a lot of organizations now, 3rd time through the batting order, they're going to their bullpen because they feel like the starters are starting to get a pretty good look at the pitcher out there.
He lost in ball 4, back-to-back walks.
You might have to go get him.
2 on, 2 outs. Dixon Machado coming up. 11 pitches for McAllister, and he's thrown only 3 strikes.
And Tigers have quite a few left-handed bats on their bench, but Brad not going to use one of those here. They've got Collins, they've got Romine, they've got Avila, got a number of guys down there. And it's a situation where you knew that if you did pinch hit, they wouldn't pitch around whoever that pinch hitter was. Nowhere to put him.
So Machado looks at a strike. Manship now joining the action in the bullpen for the Indians. Dixon is 0 for 2. Struck out twice against Cody Anderson. Here's the 0-1. Machado fouls it back out of play, 0-2. Well, this time of the year, you certainly could go to your bench in this situation. It's a whole lot deeper on the bench these days. Of course, Romine could come in and play defensively. If you did want to pinch hit, Brad staying with Machado to give him an opportunity to see if he can drive in a run here. The 0-2. I'll get back into the seats.
Tigers batters have been whistling some foul balls into them seats here today. Ghost, Kinsler, now Machado. You got to pay attention, especially if you're sitting close to the action in a big league ballpark.
off the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And one of the better fastballs that McAllister has thrown in this inning. That one registered at 96.
The fans were begging for a strike call there from Paul Nart, but didn't get it.
Of his 15 total pitches, 9 have missed the strike zone.
Here's the 1-2. Machado staying alive.
Trying to get John Keating down there in that camera well.
It's like he has a target on down here.
You better be careful down there.
Top of the order, Anthony Ghost waiting on deck. There's Keats.
I know. You better get a glove.
He says that now until one comes at him. Machado, nice job of laying off.
And McAllister finally threw a breaking ball.
.3-2 ball game. The Tigers have answered with a run here in the 6th. They have 2 men on, 2 men out. McAllister having all kinds of difficulties getting that final out. Here's the 2-2. That's going to make it 3-2 now on Machado. It's got to be driving Mickey Callaway nuts.
No question about that. And Terry Francona. He's got Terry pacing now.
The Tigers get the advantage here of starting the runners. Gap shot scores 2. And it's ball 4. McAllister has walked 3 consecutive hitters. And the Tigers have loaded the bases. That's going to be it. So McAllister comes out of the bullpen, faces 3 guys, walks them all. And all of a sudden the Tigers in decent shape here to take the lead. That's going to be it for the right-hander. McAllister is done. Another wall side windows pitching change. We'll be back. And the wild card right now is what the Indians are focused on.
It's a matter of time before Kansas City's able to clinch. And they got a battle going on in the West as well with Houston and the Texas Rangers. So next couple of weeks, very interesting as some teams try to figure out whether they're going to be in or not.
Meanwhile, Terry Francona trying to figure out if Jeff Manship can get the final out of this inning.
And Manship has pitched in 24 games so far this year, 29 2/3 innings. The whip is well under 1, which is outstanding, and he throws a lot of strikes. And 24 strikeouts, only 6 base on balls for Manship.
So with 2 outs and nobody on, Moya walked, McCann walked, Machado walked.
And fastball, slider, curveball, changeup thrown by Manship. Fastball gets up to about 92, on occasion 93 miles an hour.
Anthony Gose, double and 3 at bats, stands in. And Gose buckles out of the way, 1-0. A base hit could give the Tigers the advantage here. Gose now has hit safely in 5 straight, and he fouls that one back out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike.
It's been a lengthy sit down for Justin Verlander, who was stressed out a little bit there in the 5th inning by tri-bats. He threw a lot of pitches, so he needed a little extra rest. Now he's pacing.
Yeah, it'd be even better if they can get him the lead.
Verlander pitches, he cannot be still.
Way inside, 2 balls and 1 strike. Manship last year with the Phillies. He's been around a while. He's been with the Minnesota Twins, Colorado.
Outfielders for the Tribe playing very shallow. It would not be that difficult for Anthony Gose to hit one over their heads and to drive in all 3 of these runs, especially with the speed of Machado at first base.
Little chopper, slowly but foul, and down goes Gose. Right off his foot.
Ouch. I said it for you, Anthony.
He's probably saying a few other things.
You think so?
Yeah. That instep protector there is on there, but I bet it probably caught him on the big toe.
It's the PG show, though.
Yeah, but ouch wasn't one of the things he said, I don't think. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Gose. Man, now it's 3-2, and the runners will be going here. No place to put Gose. Kinsler saying, let me hit.
Or walk.
Or walk. That seems to be what's going on here. Full count on Gose. He's the 7th man to bat in the inning. Fouled off. You put a ball in the alley here with the runners going and the speed of Machado at first base, you could score 3. Now Manship again with the 3-2. Foul away again. Gose in his at bats today has fouled off a boatload of pitches.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of pitches today.
A 9-pitch second at bat, a 9-pitch third at bat. This is about to be an 8-pitch fourth at bat. Another foul. Inning start with a double. A ground ball that advanced the runner. Sac fly by Castellanos, scored JD Martinez. Then they took the starter Cody Anderson out of the game. McAllister came on and walked 3 consecutive hitters, the 7, 8, and 9 men. And now Manship trying to clean it up. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and Gose in frustration slams the bat and the helmet. The Tigers have stranded 8 men in this game, and they'll settle for 1 run.
James McCann seemed to be on the same page. A walk to Chisenhall, a double by Gomes, and then you have a couple of different visits by McCann to the mound and another base hit the opposite way by Johnson. A breaking ball down, hit up the middle by Lindor, and it just seemed to unravel there a little bit for Verlander in the 5th inning after absolutely cruising through the first 4 innings.
5 innings, 4 hits, and 3 runs earned so far against Verlander. Tigers got him 1 back as we go to the bottom of the 6th now, 3-2. And Verlander brings home the first one to Carlos Santana. He was the only man that did not bat in that 5th inning. Santana, then Chisenhall, and Gomes against the Tigers right-hander. That'll be a little bit outside. 2 balls, no strikes on Santana. He's had a ground out and a strikeout in this game versus JV. Here's the 2-0.
It's a good fastball there at 90 miles an hour. And Santana doesn't agree with the call, but it's got some movement to it. Verlander's fastball, when he gets up at the mid to upper 90s, it's a 4-seam fastball. It's straight, but in the low 90s, he's got a little bit of movement with that fastball. There's another one with some little sinker ball almost with movement.
But he's gone 3-1 on Santana.
Well, you brought this up earlier. And no one in the American League has walked as much as Santana. He's already been given 91 free passes.
In there is strike 3 and 2.
Good pitch. Does he dare come back to back with changeups here? That one Santana could not pull the trigger on.
Fouled away. Decided on the fastball. 3-2 the count stays on Santana. Chisenhall on deck, and then Gomes. Game 2 starters today. Randy Wolf for the Tigers. Trevor Bauer will go for the Indians. Here's the 3-2. Another foul back out of play. So Santana working on a lengthy at bat of his own, and this is something he has done awfully well this year. He will see a lot of pitches per plate appearance. Another foul ball. This one going on the ground toward first base.
Yeah, he sees over 4. 4.27 to be exact. Pitches per plate appearance, which is 2nd in the American League. And to Mike Trout, he's now 2nd in walks with 91.
JV trying to finish him off. Swinging a foul, got a piece of it to stay alive. Indians for most of the early part of this game could not do anything against Justin Verlander. It was a 2-out double in the 3rd for their first hit. Then a 1-2-3 4th inning, and then the Indians came up with 3 in the 5th. And in that 5th inning, they had Verhagen warming up. He is once again tuning in the Tigers' pen. Pulled to right field. That is going to hook and go foul down the right field line. Well, Santana just a smidge out in front. JV all of a sudden is now up to 96 pitches.
And Santana has seen every last one of Justin Verlander's pitches in this particular at bat.
McCann and Verlander, another conversation. Tigers in this game have stranded 8 men which is part of the story here, including the bases loaded in the top of the 6th. Swing and a miss, and he finally takes care of Santana. 1 gone. Time for a game break now. Here's Justin White.
Stepping in for the Indians, number 8, Lonnie Chisenhall.
All right, Justin, thanks very much. Tigers indeed headed to Minneapolis to take on those Twins. It'll be a 3-game series at Target Field. That's fouled back out of play.
And we were just talking about those Twins. They are really close to possibly getting to the postseason this year via the wild card. And it's a team that I thought at the beginning of the year would not be able to sustain. Yeah, but they have. They had one rough patch. Yeah, but Paul Molitor has really kept that team playing well all year.
Yeah, just when you think the Twins are headed to off the cliff, they just fall off and out of contention. They find a way to win a couple of games and get back into it.
And I believe if you were to ask many people who is their best pitcher, there's probably a lot of people out there that probably couldn't even tell you who the Twins' best pitcher is. I probably couldn't even tell you. Who is it?
Well, I might go with Irvin Santana.
Well, he is now.
But I'd have to look at the numbers. 1 and 2.
I'm telling you. I mean, they had one guy make an all-star team. I mean, it's just a nice team effort in Minnesota right now.
100 now for JV.
34 and 5th.
Yeah, that 5th inning really was uncharacteristic from what we saw early in the game from Verlander. Here's the 1-2 to Chisenhall. He'll pop that one up. Left side for Castellanos. Now he's called off. Machado. 2 away. It'll bring up Gomes.
After the Chisenhall base on balls last half inning, it was Gomes who sliced that ball right down the first baseline, right underneath the glove of Cabrera.
And it turned out to be huge because it just curled inside the bag at first base, went down the line, and that started the big inning. Out in front with that front foot, he takes it for strike 1. Gomes a couple of hits and an RBI in this series now. Here is Verlander's 0-1. Make it 0-2.
Yeah, you may as well throw another breaking ball, but make sure you get it outside away from Gomes where he can't reach it. You can even bounce it.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Hit him.
Jeez.
Yan Gomes is hit with an 0-2 to put a man on.
Well, that's the pitch that Verlander wanted. He wanted the fastball in, and McCann motioned for the fastball up, but it just tailed on Justin, and he got a piece of Gomes. They want it up and in.
So that'll keep the inning going now for Abraham Almonte, who walked as part of the 3-run 5th. Justin had 2 base on balls in that inning, and both of them came around to score. 3-2 Cleveland. We're in the bottom of the 6th in game 1 of a doubleheader today. Ball 1 to Almonte. Swing and a miss. Almonte coming over from the San Diego Padres. The Indians gave up a bullpen piece. Mark Zepchinski to get it.
It's not bad. I mean, you give up Zepchinski, and then you get yourself an everyday center fielder.
Almonte has done pretty good work here. He came in batting .276. Homered in the first game of the series. Rolls that one foul.
In case you're wondering, Yan Gomes, the third hitter that Verlander has hit this season. Third batter, I should have said, probably.
They play Almonte off the line at third base. Here's Justin's 1-2. It is high. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And one of the things that they say about Almonte is the fact that he's a really good fastball hitter. Good fastball hitter. They say he's got some really quick hands.
McCann wants the fastball in. Yep, they're going to throw to first base. Keeping an eye on Gomes. There's a soft line drive to center, base hit. That'll drop in. Gomes on his way to third. He's going to make it, and Almonte keeps it rolling here in the 6th with a base hit. Runners at the corners now for the Indians. Hey, fans, support breast health awareness and Pink Out the Park on September the 18th. The Tigers hosting the Royals at 7:08 p.m. Get a ticket plus a special Pink Out the Park t-shirt by purchasing at tigers.com/pinkout.
And Brad has not motioned toward the bullpen yet, so I guess maybe he's going to see if Verlander still has enough in his tank to get the job done here in the 6th.
And apparently he's told him yes.
Yep, he heard what he wanted to hear.
So the Indians now with men at the corners bring up Chris Johnson, who singled in a run in the 5th inning.
And Verlander was able to get ahead of Johnson, no balls and 2 strikes, and threw him a fastball away that he was able to poke the opposite way for a single and an RBI.
And that was his first RBI as an Indian. Two on and 2 out. Strike 1 in the inside part of the plate. Justin now at 110 pitches. Again, he had the 2 extra days off with the rainouts the last 2 days. JV threw 107 in his last start. He has gone as high as 117. Soft little pop up back a second. Kinsler can't get it. That'll score a run. A bloop single for Johnson. The second time he's gone the other way. And it's 4-2 Cleveland.
Great base running by Almonte, who was on first base, who got a great read on that ball and was able to scoot all the way over to third. And that ball just fought off by Johnson over the head of Ian Kinsler. And by the time that JD picked it up, Almonte, who got a great read, was off to third. They had no play on him.
That is the 6th Indians hit. They now lead 4-2, and here is Jose Ramirez. A 2 RBI day for Johnson.
And now you have to make sure you get ahead of him.
They do. Ramirez to pop up in a double. He batted with the bases loaded in the 5th inning and popped up. Way outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And this will probably be Verlander's last hitter, no matter what.
And Justin has a shot here of reaching his season high in pitches. Drilled toward left field. Moya is on the move. He's there, and that is that. However, the Indians get another run. And we'll go to the 7th in game 1. It's 4-2 Cleveland.
By baseball, and the odd set of circumstances in which there is a straight doubleheader is that there is 20 minutes at least and no more than 30 minutes in between games. Justin Verlander, we're told, takes about 40 minutes to get ready. Randy Wolf will start the second game. He only takes about 20 minutes, said pitching coach Jeff Jones, who also told me that Alfredo Simon, before he starts, might throw 200 times to get loose. It's just a matter of, I guess, different strokes for different folks, Mario, right?
200?
200. How about
Seriously?
that?
Wow. Well, it'll take us, a couple hours to get ready for a broadcast, that's for sure. That is lined into left field, and a nice play by Brantley, who sprawls out there for the first out.
Looked like he might have hurt that wrist, too, diving for that ball. It's a very dangerous play. That's why you don't see a lot of guys diving in this fashion anymore. But he's okay. Most guys like to come in and slide when they make catches, when they have to leave their feet. That wrist got caught underneath him, and he nearly hurt himself. 2 errors, 156 putouts this year in 90 games in left field.
Big play. It keeps the leadoff man off the bases, especially with Cabrera coming up in a 2-run game.
Huge play.
Miggy's been on base once via a walk. He's also hit into a double play. Manship is out there. He came on to get the final out of the 6th inning.
Miggy hasn't done his usual damage in this series so far against tri-pitching that he's been doing all year. Then again, he was due for a little bit of correction anyway, because those numbers were off the chain.
It was over 500. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I guess just like the stock market, you got to be some correction everywhere.
No doubt. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and it's outside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Now Manship ready with the 2-1 pitch. And it's a little bit high. 3 balls, 1 strike. J.D. Martinez waiting on deck. Tigers down by 2 now as we play in the 7th. Here's the 3-1. And Cabrera looks at a strike. 3-2 on Miguel. Fly ball toward right field, and Chisenhall gets back there. 2 up, 2 down. Miggy now 1 for 8 in the series, and that'll bring up JD Martinez. Tigers and Indians this year have faced each other 16 times. The Tigers have won 10 of those so far. Here's a strike 0-1.
That's a well located two-seam fastball there, thrown by Manship with some late life on it at 93 miles an hour.
Make it 0-2.
He's mad at himself. He knew that one should have been hitting the seats right there. Hanging breaking ball to Martinez that he got away with. Take a look at the reaction of Manship after hanging this breaking ball.
Now the 0-2. Another breaker and a swing and a miss. So you got him on strikes. A 1-2-3 inning for Manship. Strikes out Martinez to end the inning. Time to stretch. Have 7 hits in this game. They've left a lot of men on base, though. Francisco Lindor, 2 out, 2-run single in the 5th inning. That turned out to be huge for them. And Stephen Moyan, well, Rod, he's been on base 3 times in this game.
He's done a nice job. Base hit, infield variety his first time up. He tripled, he walked. He's made a couple of nice plays in the outfield, acquitting himself very nicely to a new position, which would be left field.
So the Tigers have some work to do in this one. We remind you that on Monday, September the 21st at 7:08, the Tigers, they take on the Chicago White Sox. The first 10,000 fans receive a free Miguel Cabrera 400th home run figurine. If you'd like tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com and score yourself one of these Miggy figurines. Remember that day in St. Louis when he hit 400?
I do remember that day.
It was pouring rain, and he just stepped up there and hit one over the left center field wall. We're hoping the game wouldn't get rained out to wash it away. Just one of many milestones for Mr. Cabrera. Tom Gorzelani will come in and do some pitching now for the Tigers.
It's been a rough year for Gorzelani. After pitching very well last year for the Milwaukee Brewers, got off to a tough start with his new team, Detroit, sent down to the minors, new arm slot. And it's tough to try to master a new arm slot at this level when you're trying to compete against big league hitters. Very difficult to do in the offseason, let alone trying to do something like he's trying to do in season.
So Verlander will end up going 6 in this game. He will depart trailing it by a score of 4-2. This is game 1 of a doubleheader today here in Cleveland. And as promised earlier in the game, we have selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Detroit Data Strong Fan for a chance to have it featured in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile.
2 different games here today for Verlander. Just absolutely cruising through the first 4 innings of the game with a mixture of good sliders and breaking balls and well-located fastballs. Then in the 5th inning, in the 6th inning, he probably threw as many pitches as he did in the first 4 innings.
Well, it's going to be the top of the lineup coming up. It'll be Kipnis, Lindor, and Brantley facing Gorzelani.
And 2 left-handers and a switch hitter.
Kipnis glad to see Justin Verlander out of the game.
You got that right.
He has had no success against him in his career. He was 0 for 3 against him today. And a fastball strike. Letter high to Jason Kipnis. Fly out, strikeout, pop up. Here's the 0-1. Only .242 versus left-handed pitching. Gift has been good in that leadoff slot for the Indians. His on-base percentage among the best in the American League. In fact, he came in at 6th at .379. And the 1-2 fouled away. 1-2 the count stays on Kipnis.
Kipnis has had a nice year. He made the All-Star team this year for the 2nd time in his career. He was player of the month in the American League in the month of May. And he might just win a Silver Slugger at the second base position this year.
7 homers, 46 RBIs. Fought that one off, slow roller towards short. Machado has time, and they got him by a step. One away in the 7th. We'll bring up Francisco Lindor. Turn around and bat right-handed versus the lefty. 2-run single for Lindor in the 5th inning. Gave the Indians their first lead of the day. He'll drive this one to center field. That's going to be a gapper. All the way to the wall, and Lindor will head to second base and pull in with a double. A 2-hit day for Lindor.
This guy, we've talked about him. He's just an outstanding player. Didn't get to the big leagues until June 4th, but he does everything well. He hits from both sides of the plate. He got a big knock against Verlander his last time up on a breaking ball down. Defensively, he has tremendous range. He also steals bases as well. This guy, along with a lot of other guys, young players in the major leagues, are tremendous young talents. He didn't waste any time against Gorzelani, did he?
He shot the gap in right center, a 2-base hit.
Baseball is in really good shape, and I know we've been talking about it a lot the last couple of days, last week or so, but it's been a long time since you've seen this much young talent come from the minor leagues on a lot of different teams and turn into already good stars in the big leagues.
Here is Michael Brantley. Well, Carlos Correa is the other shortstop we talk a lot about, the youngster for the Houston Astros. Correa is a lot bigger than Lindor, but they both have similar skills.
Yeah, the other kid, Correa, I think he hit his 18th home run yesterday.
Yeah, more of a power shortstop than Lindor. But they both can field it. No balls, or make it 1 ball and no strikes on Michael Brantley, trying to drive in a run here. way outside. McCann, nice job to stop it. More action in the Tigers bullpen. That'll be Albuquerque warming up. Santana waiting on deck. Didn't give in on 2-0. Now 2-1 on Brantley. The 3 and 4 hitters today for the Indians. Brantley, Santana combined 0 for 6. Inside, held his swing, and the count goes to 3-1.
Gorzelani is wondering where that last pitch was. It was awfully close.
Just a little bit inside. And Brantley is just taking a walk, and that'll put 2 men on now for Santana. Two on now and 1 out. Some of those Rookie of the Year candidates who we're talking about, and probably the 3 front runners, I think most would agree these are the 3 guys.
Yeah, we're going to see Sano tomorrow, as a matter of fact. He's in Minnesota. He's got 16 homers. We've talked about Lindor. We've also talked about Correa. And none of these guys were even in the big leagues when the season began this year. So that kind of puts it in perspective. Neither guy was in the big leagues when the season began, and those are the 3 front runners for the Rookie of the Year.
Well, 2 on now with 1 out, and here is Carlos Santana.
McCann will get some votes too.
Ball 1.
Now they shift on Santana as well in the infield. And Miguel well off the line at first base. Everybody kind of shading him to the pull field, just as they do when he's batting left-handed, but not the extreme shift as when he's batting left-handed. He's also grounded into 19 twin killings this year. That would come in lovely here for Gorzelani.
Each ball club with 7 hits in this game. Only 219 versus righties, 253 versus lefties for Santana. Here's the 1-0. Pulled to third and right by Castellanos into left field. Lindor rounding third. They send him home. Throw to the plate is going to be plenty of time.
Oh my goodness! Did you see that throw?
Moya!
Oh my goodness!
He absolutely uncorked his howitzer and nailed him at home plate by a wide margin.
Wow!
You got to be kidding me with this throw.
Look at this thing. Apparently they didn't get the scouting report on Moore. He looked like a young Dave Winfield right there for sure, Mario.
Wow.
He was out by 10 feet.
He was waiting for him.
An absolute clothesline thrown to the plate by the youngster Steven Moya.
And here comes Brad Ausmus.
That's one of the best throws we've seen this year.
No question.
I don't care where it's left field, center field, or right field. That's one of the best throws I've seen this year.
Moya played it nicely out there and just came up throwing and fired a bullet to home plate. That'll be it for Gorzelani. We'll be back.
field. But that arm really works well from left field. And something else about this particular play, Mario, the ball was thrown so low on the line that even though he threw it over the head of the cutoff man, Santana, who was on first base, who hit the ball, he couldn't advance a second because he wasn't quite sure whether that ball could have been caught or not.
Tremendous throw, and that cuts down a runner at the plate, keeps this ball game 4-2, which is important here as we get later into the ball game. Albuquerque is on now for the Tigers.
Albuquerque's earned run average has shot up to 4.39. He had it in the twos there for a moment.
Jerry Sands will pinch hit. Runner goes. Here comes the throw to second. It sails on McCann. Kinsler stepped in front to make the play on that ball. Stolen base.
I don't know how slow Albuquerque was getting that ball to McCann, but it had to be at least 1.6 seconds, and that allowed Santana to steal the bag, and he doesn't run all that often.
Second and third now. Santana swipes his 10th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Albuquerque trying to mop it up here in the bottom of the 7th. Sands is not a household name by any means by big league levels or standards, but he's hitting .412 against the Tigers this year.
He sure is.
7 for 17 with 6 RBIs. That's in there, a strike. 1-2. See just how big that throw from Moya turns out to be if the Tigers can rally here late in the game. Bouncing ball right side. Kinsler diving, stopping, throws from his knees and throws it away. 2 runs will score. Sands on his way to second, and he's going to be out at second base. Kinsler just uncorked it, but the Indians will get a pair more. 2 more runs in.
An infield single, and then Ian Kinsler probably should have just eaten this, not thrown this ball. But they end up getting it out at second base as Sands tried to advance to second base. McCann picked it up and fired the ball down towards second base to get the out.
It was a great play by Kinsler, but boy, that thing just flew on it. And a huge play because now it's a 6-2 ball game. Jerry Sands does it again for the Indians. He'll stay in the game. And we have Brian Shaw coming on now for the Tribe.
He's usually their 8th inning guy. He's had a really good year. And pitching a lot of games last year, also pitching in a lot of games this year. A 280 earned run average for Shaw. And he pretty much has one pitch that he uses. It's a cut fastball that goes from about 89 miles an hour to about 93 miles an hour.
So the Tigers were able to cut down one runner at the plate, but two more score on that ground ball by Sands. Victor Martinez will lead it off for the Tigers. And Victor looks at a strike, 0-1. 6 runs on 8 hits now for the Indians. 2 runs on 7 hits for the Tigers. Good history here for Victor. Shaw with the 0-1.
Change up there thrown by Shaw.
Shaw came on in the 7th inning of game 1 and corked a wild pitch which scored a run, then gave up an RBI single. Rolled foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Victor Martinez, whose career began right here in Cleveland. Won a couple of batting championships in the minor leagues, making his way up through the Cleveland system. A couple of guys really wearing Tigers colors these days that made their marks in Cleveland. Omar Vizquel, the other. There's a chopper hit right into the shift. It's going to be cut off by Lindor. And Victor is out, 1 gone. There's Omar Vizquel, who played a lot of years here in Cleveland, put up a lot of really good numbers.
He was a very popular player here in Cleveland as well. Over 1,400 games played at shortstop for the Tribe, won 9 Gold Gloves, made 3 All-Star teams, and compiled over 1,600 hits in a Cleveland Indians uniform.
Parts of 11 years here. Also played with Seattle, San Francisco, the White Sox toward the end of his career. Here's Castellanos. Ball 1 against Nick. Sac fly, drove in a run back in the 6th.
9 Gold Gloves. He had a stranglehold on that thing, didn't he?
He did. He was so much known for his defense that people really didn't pay too much attention to his offense.
He had over 2,700 hits.
He was over 2,800, I think.
Yeah, I believe you're right. More than any other Venezuelan-born player.
One ball, 1 strike on Castellanos. Two and 1. Anderson started this game, then McAllister, Manship, and Shaw out of the Indians bullpen. Fouled back out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
In the first game of this series, Terry Francona went to Shaw in the 7th inning. And Shaw wasn't very good. He went to his closer, Cody Allen, trying to get 5 outs out of Cody Allen. Allen blew the save as well, but he was rewarded the win when Michael Brantley hit that big home run in the bottom half of the 8th inning to preserve the lead for the Tribe.
Which I guess at this time of the year you will see managers do things they probably wouldn't do any other time.
Yeah, just like in the postseason.
Swing and a miss, and Castellanos is out on strikes. 2 gone here in the 8th. Here is the upcoming matchup presented by Gordon Chevrolet, and it's not going to be too long from now. Randy Wolf, Trevor Bauer in game 2, the probables.
And Bauer comes in 11-11. He also has a big arm. He's got good stuff, to be exact. He's got an outstanding curveball too, Bauer.
A lot of walks though.
73. That's way too many for sure.
Here is Steven Moya. They've not been able to get him out. Single, triple walk.
He's had a nice day all the way around. He might sneak into that second game with the way that he's performed here today in this first game.
Why not?
He's got those young legs. Run him out there. Bat looks like a toothpick in his hand, doesn't it?
It does. I was thinking the same thing. He's so big. It does look like a toothpick.
Look like a baby bat.
0-2 on Moya. MVP of the Eastern League, Double-A ball last season. Turned him a shot.
Well, we've seen why the Tigers called him up, even though he hit only .240 this year. Typically, a .240 average for an entire season in the minor leagues does not get you a call up to the big leagues. But he was their #1 prospect coming into the season, and he is still a huge prospect.
I'll go to the backstop. 2-2 on Moya. Here are some of the Tigers' top prospects. This is the MLB.com list. Bo Burrow's first-round pick this year. Fulmer, the kid they got from the Mets in the Cespedes deal. 2-2 on Moya. Tigers certainly bolstered their pitching with the trades of Price and Cespedes.
And they got themselves a lot of really good young prospects that are controllable for the next 5 years.
On the outside corner, strike 3 called, and Shaw has a 1-2-3 eighth. Here come the Indians in the bottom of the 8th, up 6-2. The bank can be what it's time coming to Comerica. Your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives the Motor City. Wall sign windows, we can do that. We are the factory. And by the newly redesigned 2016 Mitsubishi Outlander. Back here at Progressive Field, we are in game 1 in this doubleheaders. We go to the bottom of the 8th. And the Indians are on top by a score of 6-2. Albuquerque goes back to work. And the first one is in there for a strike on Yan Gomes. One out of 2 for Gomes. He was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the 6th. And he looks at a ball high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Indians 6 runs on 9 hits. The Tigers 2 runs on 7 hits. Fouled back out of play. I thought this was going to be, Rod, one of those days where Justin Verlander was just going to cruise most of the afternoon, and really for the first 4 innings he did.
He sure looked like it, man. He was outstanding through the first 4. Outstanding breaking balls, real good slider. Had a good fastball, moved it all around. They could do nothing against him until the 5th inning.
Now the 1-2. Got him, strike 3. Gomes is caught looking.
That's a good pitch there by Albuquerque. There's no doubt that Gomes was up there looking for another one of those sliders. And if you're looking for a slider and a guy throws you a 95-mile-per-hour fastball right down the middle, you are not going to be able to pull the bat off your shoulders.
Abraham Almonte will stand in. Almonte now has his average up to 280. Single, walk, run scored.
He's playing for not only this year, but an opportunity to play center field next year.
Pulled it back just in time as he shows bunt.
He's making a nice first impression with his new team.
Well, he did so especially in his first game when Almonte had a 4-hit debut for the Indians. Ball high, and the count goes 2-0. Game 2 in this doubleheader, approximately 20 to 30 minutes following the end of game 1. Ground ball back up the middle, another hit for Almonte, his second of the game. Takes an aggressive wide turn. 1 on, 1 out. It seems like this Almonte kid does one thing really well, and that's add energy to this lineup and to this team.
Yeah, he hits that ball on the ground, even though that ball was something that you couldn't stretch into a double. He got to first base and rounded it aggressively, like that's exactly what he was looking to do. But a lot of their younger kids have given them a lot of energy in the second half of the season, whether it be Urshela, who's not playing today, Almonte, we've talked about Lindor. Jerry Sands been real good against Detroit.
Yeah, too good, really.
I was kind of wondering why Terry Francona pinch hit for Lonnie Chisenhall in favor of Jerry Sands. Yes, Sands does have decent numbers against the Tigers, but Albuquerque has better numbers against left-handed batters than he does right-handed batters. That's why Francona made that switch.
Runner goes. McCann's throw from his knees is late.
And McCann just hasn't gotten much time to throw here today, even though that was a really good throw down to second base. Almonte with a really good jump, and he stole that bag off of Al Albuquerque.
Almonte now is 5 for 5 in stolen bases as an Indian. One and 2 on Johnson. Tigers have McCann, Machado, Ghosts when we get to the 9th. There's a base hit to right field. Martinez charging it. He'll get it back in here quickly as Almonte holds at third base, and now runners at the corners.
It's not like they've hit balls extremely hard all afternoon long, but they have found a lot of holes today.
Well, especially Johnson. That is his third hit to right field, and none of them really have been screamers.
The ball that Jerry Sands hit there in the last half of the inning that Ian Kinsler left his feet on and dove for.
Well, the Indians have been really good in these types of situations. 6 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Jose Ramirez will step in. And he drives one to right, base hit. That'll get another run in. Johnson is on his way to third. He is in there standing up. 3 consecutive hits for the Indians, and they lead 7-2. Well, Ramirez a 2-hit day.
It's been really the bottom part of their batting order that has done a lot of the damage today. A lot of hits.
It's going to be it for Al. Ian Kroll is about to check into the ball game. So Albuquerque will face a total of 5 batters and will depart. 7-2. We'll be back.
One hit through the first 4 innings today against Justin Verlander, but innings 5 up until this point, 7 runs on 11 hits, and they have a couple of runners aboard here in the bottom half of the 8th with just 1 out.
Here's Ian Kroll now. He'll check in for the Tigers.
And Kroll's stuff is much better than the 6.65 earned run average, and he's another guy going into the 2016 season that they're going to be looking at, because you got a left-hander that throws 93, 95 miles an hour, but yet doesn't have a lot of success.
There's a 4-6-3 double play. Kroll delivers 1 pitch and gets out of it.
Rough day for Kip.
So we'll go to the 9th. It's now 7-2 Indians. Inning now, last call for the Tigers. They're down in their final 3 outs, down by 5 runs, and we have a new pitcher. Cody Allen will come out of the bullpen for the Tribe.
And Cody blew a save A couple of days ago, although it was a very difficult save, he came in with the bases loaded trying to get a 5-out save for Terry Francona. 30 saves on the season for Allen and 34 chances, a 3.41 ERA. He's got a fastball that gets up to 95. He also has a really good breaking ball. Let's take a look at the big boys, big plays of the game, and they involve Francisco Lindor with 2 outs, solid base hit up the middle, and a breaking ball that was down against Verlander, and then first pitch swinging against Gorzalani. In his last time up, he doubles into the right center field gap.
Big day indeed for Lindor, and the Indians trying to put the finishing touches on a Game 1 victory in this doubleheader, but the Tigers have McCann, Machado, and Gose here in the 9th.
Vila will catch the second game, and more than likely Miggy will DH the second game. Victor will play first base.
McCann a single and a walk, and he looks at strike 1. The 9th inning is underway.
It's going to be interesting to see what they say about that 5th inning, where things seem to just unravel a little bit. And for Verlander, not that he was getting hit all that much, but the command kind of left him that he had in that first 4 frames.
There's a bouncer knocked down by Allen. He'll make the play, though. 1 out. Well, that 5th inning started with a walk, and how many times have we said that?
Yeah.
In fact, JV had 2 walks in that frame.
The batter for Detroit, number 49.
1 gone now here in the 9th inning, and here is Machado coming up. 2 strikeouts and a walk for Dixon. There's a ball high and away, 1-0. Cody Allen replaces Shaw, who had a 1-2-3/8. Here's the 1-0. High, 2-0 on Machado.
And just about every fastball that Cody throws is in mid-90s fastball. Not too many at 92 or 93. Doesn't climb up to 97. Pretty much right around 95 with that big 12-6 curveball.
Here's the 2-1 pitch. Fly ball hit pretty well into right field. Sands on the run to the warning track to make the catch. Machado hit it pretty good. Not deep enough, though. 2 gone. And it's going to be up to Gose. Gose has a double in this game. He has struck out East the last 2 times. One for 4 on the afternoon for Anthony. The last chance for the Tigers here. That's in for a strike. 1-1. Balls, 1 strike. Kinsler would be next should Gose reach. And he's gone up with the count now. 3 balls, 1 strike. Indians today have used McAllister, Manship, Shaw, now Cody Allen. And Terry Francona hoping to get his 70th win of the season here today. They're 1 out away. Indians trying to get to 500. He walked him, so that'll be a 2-out base on balls. Ghost is aboard, then he'll bring up Ian Kinsler. Ian with a base hit and an RBI. The Tigers really came out swinging the bats aggressively early in this game. A double by Ghost, and Kinsler then singled to score him, and very quickly the Tigers had a 1-0 lead. But they did not score again until the 6th. The 1-0 outside. Now it's 2-0 on Kinsler, and all of a sudden Cody Allen having trouble throwing a strike. He'll draw a visit from his catcher Yan Gomes.
He's thrown a total of 13 pitches since coming into the game, and just about every last one of those have been a fastball. We also watched McAllister come in and really struggle a few innings ago. That would be the 6th inning where he walked 3 batters in that inning. Tigers had a golden opportunity in that particular frame and to close in on the gap.
Yeah, 3 straight walks after getting a run. They left him loaded. Here's the 2-0, and it's in there. 2-1 now on Kinsler. Miggy waiting on deck, and then it would be JD. So Cody Allen staring at the best part of the Tigers lineup.
And Miggy 0 for 3 and so far in this game.
Drilled to center field. That's a base hit to drop in. The Tigers still kicking. 2 on and 2 out. He's going to bring up Miguel Cabrera.
And there's not many times you could say Miguel 0 for 3 against the Tribe in any one game this year.
Cabrera does have a walk this afternoon that came back in the 3rd. And it's ball 1. He only got a couple of outs and a grounder and a fly out, then a walk and a single. Pretty good numbers against Allen, I would say. 5 for 12.
Right.
A line drive caught at third base by Ramirez to end the ball game. In the 9th inning, no runs, a walk, a single. The Tigers will strand 2. The Indians win this one 7-2 as they take game 1 in the doubleheader. 3 hours 20 minutes to play it. Game 2 on the way. There's your final 7-2. We'll be back.